Hey there, welcome to Everyday English Pod.
Hey, good to be here.
So, lately we've been spending some time going through a really interesting collection of business English conversations.
Yeah, quite a mix.
Definitely. And what we want to do in this conversation is, well, kind of pull out some of the core ideas about how people communicate effectively, in all sorts of professional situations, and really try to make those insights useful for you, the listener.
That's right. You've given us a fantastic variety of scenarios to look at, really. Everything from the everyday details of, like, keeping a project on track to the much bigger picture of, say, expanding a business internationally.
Right.
It's a great chance, I think, to see how language actually works on the ground, to get things done.
Exactly. And when you look at the sheer number of topics that came up in these conversations, it's pretty amazing, actually.
It really is.
We're talking about all kinds of things, and I mean all kinds, from figuring out why a project might be facing delays, which, let's be honest, is something a lot of us have dealt with.
Oh, it definitely happens, yeah. And more importantly, how do you steer it back on course, right? That's often the real challenge.
Absolutely. To the, sometimes tricky business of nailing down contract terms, which can really make a break in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. We also saw discussions around the ins and outs of remote work, something that's become, well, a huge part of how many of us operate now.
And all the different approaches and tools that teams are using to try and make that work effectively.
Yeah. Then we got into the often sensitive area of performance reviews.
Yes.
Both giving and receiving feedback in a hopefully constructive way. Plus, the more strategic side of things like, planning for the future and the always engaging world of managing budgets.
Which, as we observed, involves a lot of careful thinking and preparing for different possibilities.
Definitely. Oh, and we can't forget about handling unexpected situations because things don't always go as planned, right?
Never quite.
We also explored how companies conduct market research to identify new opportunities and the often complex journey of taking a product from just an idea to reality.
From those initial brainstorms all the way to getting it ready for the market, it's a long road sometimes.
It really is. We even dug into the details of implementing CRM systems, those big software changes that hold so much promise, but, well, they can also bring their own set of challenges.
Oh, yeah. Big implementations are tough.
And then there were conversations around mergers and acquisitions, those major strategic moves that have, a huge impact.
Yeah, where really clear communication and careful consideration are just absolutely essential.
For sure. We also touched on really important topics like sustainability and how businesses are working towards being more environmentally conscious.
It's becoming huge.
It is. And we can't overlook the sometimes underappreciated but crucial world of logistics.
Making sure that goods and services actually get where they need to be exactly when they're supposed to arrive. Sounds simple, but
not always. And how companies are thinking about the benefits they offer employees, to attract and keep talented people.
The whole package.
Plus, the constant need to encourage new ideas and stay competitive through innovation. And, of course, making sure customers are happy with great customer service.
Which, as we saw, often involves really actively listening to customer needs and finding ways to improve, often through technology and process changes.
Then we got into the area of managing risks, trying to anticipate potential problems and plan for them.
Yep, looking ahead.
And making sure that products and services consistently meet high standards through quality control.
Absolutely crucial.
We also looked at the creative aspects of marketing strategies and the complexities of expanding into international markets.
Yeah, navigating different cultures, regulations, consumer behaviors, it's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the ongoing challenge of keeping teams connected and engaged when they're working remotely.
Still a big topic.
Plus, the growing influence of artificial intelligence in various aspects of business operations, and the increasing importance of environmental, social, and governance factors, ESG.
Yeah, that's reflecting a broader sense of responsibility, I think, that companies are embracing more and more.
Definitely. We even heard conversations about modernizing how payments are handled, supporting the well-being of employees, and the critical need to protect data.
Data protection. Huge.
And it didn't stop there. We touched on cutting-edge technologies like blockchain and virtual reality for training, and even the long-term goals of achieving carbon neutrality.
Exploring some really innovative solutions, actually, to a wide range of business challenges.
And believe it or not, some of the discussions even touched on the metaverse.
Wow.
Quantum computing, autonomous operations, biometric access control, renewable energy, and get this, opportunities in commercial space.
Okay, that's quite a range of topics when you put them all together like that.
Isn't it?
What's really interesting, though, is that no matter the specific subject, these conversations, they all kind of come down to how well people communicate their ideas and needs.
Absolutely. And our goal today is to step back and really look at how these everyday business conversations give us some valuable clues about what effective communication looks like in the real world.
Makes sense.
So let's dive into some of these key areas and see what insights we can maybe pull out for you, the listener.
Sounds good. Where do you think we should start? Maybe with a situation that, a lot of people can relate to, like when a project hits a snag.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard a conversation about the Wilson project that was running a little behind schedule.
Right.
What struck me right away was how directly they addressed the issue. The person leading the discussion didn't try to sugarcoat it at all.
Exactly. That immediate acknowledgement of the delay, that's important. But what followed was, I think, even more telling. They mentioned having mitigation measures already in place.
Yeah.
So, for you listening, think about that it shows they weren't just stating a problem. They were already thinking about solutions. That kind of thing instills confidence,
Totally. And they were specific about why the project was delayed. The late delivery of key parts from a supplier.
Right.
That's crucial information for everyone involved. It's not just, we're behind. It's, here's why, which allows people to understand the situation better, doesn't it?
Right. And then the immediate follow-up question about alternative suppliers, that shows they were thinking ahead, right? They weren't just going to sit around and wait.
Yeah.
The fact that they had already shortlisted 3 potential backup vendors as contingency is, well, it's a great example of proactive planning.
Which naturally leads to the impact on the budget. Even though they were still technically within budget, the fact that there was only a 5% buffer remaining is a key piece of information that needs to be out in the open.
Definitely.
And the request for a detailed breakdown of the remaining costs show the commitment to being transparent and responsible with the finances. So for you, it's about not just the headline number, but the details that really matter.
And think about how they communicated with the client. The client was understandably concerned, right?
Yeah.
But the proactive communication had already helped to manage those concerns. Maintaining that open line of communication is just so important for building and keeping trust.
And the proposed timeline for getting back on track was realistic within 3 weeks if we implement overtime.
Right. Concrete.
This gives everyone a clear target and a concrete plan of action. Plus, the consideration of needing 2 more team members temporarily highlights the knock-on effects on resources. So when you're communicating a recovery plan, make sure it's specific and considers the resources needed.
So what's the big takeaway for you, for the listener, from this project delay scenario? I think it's about being upfront, clearly explaining the issues, proactively seeking solutions, being transparent about the consequences, like the budget, and outlining the proposed next steps in a clear way. It's not just about reporting a problem, it's about actively managing it through effective communication.
Absolutely. Well said. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about negotiating agreements. We heard a conversation where the schedule for payments was a major point of discussion.
Yes, the initial offer of net 60 payment terms.
Right.
And the immediate counteroffer of net 45 with a 2% early payment discount. Now, for you, this shows a key tactic in negotiation instead of just saying no.
Yeah.
They propose an alternative that could actually be beneficial to both sides. The discount creates an incentive for faster payment, right?
Right, give and take. And the discussion around when the product would be delivered led to the mention of a service level agreement with specific performance metrics and penalties.
Ah, the SLA. Important stuff.
Very. This is all about setting very clear expectations right from the start and outlining what happens if those expectations aren't met. It adds a layer of accountability to the agreement. So when you're negotiating, think beyond just the price.
Yeah.
And consider the performance and what happens if things go wrong.
What's really interesting here, too, is how the conversation moved beyond just the cost. The buyer also asked about ongoing support and training for their team.
Good point.
The seller's willingness to bundle in a 12-month maintenance package at a discounted rate and provide comprehensive on-site training added significant value to the overall deal. So for you, this highlights that negotiation isn't always just about getting the lowest price. It's about the total value being offered and received.
And the very direct question, when can you send a revised proposal? It shows a focus on keeping the negotiation moving forward.
Keeping momentum.
and establishing clear next steps. The commitment to having it on their desk first thing tomorrow morning demonstrates professionalism and a sense of urgency. So in your own negotiations, don't be afraid to push for clear timelines.
So yeah, when you're negotiating a contract, effective communication means clearly stating what you need, being open to finding solutions that work for everyone involved, addressing any concerns proactively, and being really precise about the details of the agreement. It's about building a shared understanding and ultimately a strong foundation for the working relationship.
Nicely put. Now let's move to the world of remote work. We heard a team starting a video call, and it really highlighted some of the communication challenges, but also the ways they address them in a virtual setting.
The simple opening, right? Is everyone able to hear me clearly on the video call? It sounds basic, but it's so fundamental.
It really is.
It sets the stage for effective communication by making sure everyone has the basic technical connection they need. And the clear confirmation, yes, your audio and video are coming through perfectly, allows the meeting to get started without any technical hurdles. So for you listening, it's a reminder to always check the basics first, especially in remote settings.
And the way the meeting was structured, starting with updates from each department, that provides a clear agenda, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And ensures that everyone on the team is kept in the loop about what's happening across different areas. So when you're leading remote meetings, having a clear structure is definitely key.
And the direct follow-up on previously identified technical issues. Have we resolved the technical issues from last week? That shows a commitment to addressing problems.
Right, accountability.
And making sure they don't keep disrupting progress. The answer, mentioning the new VPN solution that's working smoothly, provides a clear resolution. For you, it's about closing the loop on issues and demonstrating that feedback has actually been acted upon.
The conversation about the international expansion project brought up the real challenge of different time zones.
Always tricky.
And the solutions they put in place, overlapping work hours, and implemented asynchronous communication tools. Those are practical ways to bridge that gap. This shows that effective remote communication often requires thinking creatively about how and when you connect.
And the check-in on whether everyone could access the new project management software, that highlights how important it is to make sure everyone has the necessary tools and the ability to use them.
Yeah, can't assume.
Right. The proactive identification of team members needing more training is a crucial step. So don't just roll out new tools, make sure everyone knows how to use them effectively.
The open question about any challenges with working together remotely led to the identification of document version control as a significant problem.
Classic.
Right. This kind of open communication creates a space for the team to pinpoint areas that need improvement. For you listening, it's a reminder to actively solicit feedback on how remote work is actually going for people.
The suggestion then to invest in additional collaboration tools and to look into advanced file sharing solutions demonstrates a willingness to adapt and to find technological solutions to improve teamwork when people aren't in the same office. You know, it's about being flexible and using technology to your advantage.
So when you're communicating effectively in a remote environment, it involves proactively checking in on technical issues, having clear meeting structures, openly discussing challenges, and being willing to adopt tools and strategies that help people collaborate effectively across distances and different time zones.
It really comes down to being very deliberate, I think, in your communication to overcome the natural barriers that come with not being physically together.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to something that many of us will encounter at some point. Performance reviews.
Yes, fun times.
So the conversation we heard was actually quite positive, focusing on both what the employee had done well and areas where they could grow.
Yes. The opening line, I've reviewed your performance metrics for the past quarter. I'm looking forward to your feedback and suggestions. Immediately sets a collaborative tone for the discussion.
That's good, yeah.
It's not just a one-way evaluation. It's framed as a two-way conversation right from the start.
The specific positive feedback on customer satisfaction scores. And the employee's response, thank you, I've been focusing on building stronger client relationships, shows a clear link between the employee's efforts and the positive results and, a proactive approach to their job. So when giving feedback, be specific about what was done well and the impact it had.
Definitely. And the question, what do you consider your biggest achievement this quarter? that encourages the employee to reflect on their own contributions, right? Yeah. And allows them to highlight what they are most proud of.
Yeah.
The answer, focusing on the automated reporting system, which saved us 20 hours weekly, provides a concrete and impactful achievement. So for you, it's about prompting self-reflection and recognizing quantifiable results.
Importantly, the review also addressed areas for development with the question, are there areas where you feel you need improvement?
Right. Got to have that balance.
And the employee's honest response about wanting to enhance my project management skills, particularly in resource allocation, demonstrates self-awareness, which is, well, a really valuable trait.
And the follow-up question about how they plan to develop those skills, with the mention of enrolling in a PMP certification course, shows a proactive approach to their own professional growth. As an employee, it's good practice to come to these discussions with ideas for your own development.
Definitely. The discussion of future goals, aiming to increase team productivity by 15% through process optimization, provides a clear target for the next quarter.
Something concrete to aim for.
And the question about how the manager can support their professional development. That opens the door for collaboration and mentorship. So performance reviews should also look forward and identify clear goals.
Setting up monthly check-ins to track your progress is a concrete action that ensures ongoing support and keeps everyone aligned. This turns the performance review into more of an ongoing process rather than just a, once-a-year event.
Good point.
So for you as a manager, think about how you can provide continuous support.
So boiling it down, effective communication and performance reviews involves setting a collaborative tone, giving specific and positive feedback, encouraging self-reflection, addressing areas for development constructively, and establishing clear goals and ongoing support mechanisms. It's all about fostering growth and development for the employee, really.
It really is. It should be a two-way conversation focused on continuous improvement for both the individual and ultimately the team.
We've covered quite a bit already, looking at how communication plays out in project management, contract negotiation, remote work, performance reviews. What's your take on what ties all these effective communication scenarios together? What's the underlying principle for you?
What really stands out to me is the consistent importance of being clear, being transparent, and being proactive.
Okay.
In each of these situations, the people who communicated effectively were, clear about what they meant. They were open and honest in their communication, transparent, and they took initiative to address potential problems and find solutions proactive. So for you listening, those are, I think, 3 key pillars to focus on.
That's such a great point. Clarity, transparency, proactivity. And it really highlights that effective business communication isn't necessarily about using fancy language or having a specific job title, right?
No, not at all.
It's more about being clear, concise, and thoughtful in how you interact with others.
Exactly. It's about understanding the situation you're in, knowing who you're talking to, and tailoring your communication to achieve the outcome you're aiming for. Whether you're talking about deadlines on a project, the specifics of a contract, or giving feedback to a colleague, these core principles, clarity, transparency, and proactivity, are absolutely essential.
Well, this has been a really insightful look into just a few of the many business conversations you shared.
Right.
By, digging into these diverse examples, we can really start to see the common threads and maybe the best approaches for communicating effectively in the professional world.
Absolutely. And it really underscores the fact that strong communication skills aren't just a nice-to-have bonus.
Right.
They are a fundamental requirement for success in pretty much any business environment, no matter what your role is.
So as we wrap up this conversation about these everyday business English interactions, it's pretty clear that taking a closer look at these real-world examples offers so much value for improving how we communicate ourselves. We've touched on a wide range of topics, from talking about project delays and hammering out contract terms to dealing with technical issues and remote meetings and providing constructive performance feedback.
And we saw how professionals plan for the future through strategic discussions, manage budgets effectively, respond to unexpected crises with clear information, explore new markets with careful planning, and navigate the complexities of bringing new products to life and implementing new technologies.
We also look at the human aspects of business, didn't we? With conversations around considering mergers and acquisitions, focusing on sustainability efforts, streamlining logistics, enhancing employee benefits, encouraging innovation, and always striving for better customer experiences.
And the importance of identifying and managing risks, ensuring high standards of quality, developing effective marketing strategies, expanding into new global markets.
Right.
Keeping remote teams engaged and connected, adopting new technologies like AI thoughtfully, prioritizing ESG considerations, modernizing payment processes, supporting the well-being of employees, and safeguarding sensitive data. So much.
We even got a glimpse into the future with discussions around exploring cutting-edge technologies like blockchain and VR. And the ambitious goals of achieving carbon neutrality and even venturing into areas like the metaverse and commercial space.
It really shows you the incredible scope of communication challenges and opportunities that exist in the business world today, doesn't it?
It really does. So here's something to think about maybe. Which of the communication strategies we've talked about today really resonated with you?
Good question.
How could you see yourself maybe using these techniques in your own professional interactions? And, which of the business challenges we touched on are most relevant to what you're currently experiencing? Maybe this conversation has given you some new perspectives to consider as you navigate your own professional life.
Food for thought.
Definitely. Until our next conversation.